as you move up in the hierarchy, the functional knowledge requirement starts getting reduced, and the behavioral side, which is primarily the leadership skill, acquires a bigger space or a bigger share of pie.
What does the board really expect from a CXO?
Board expects honesty. Board understands very well that you are a domain expert. You understand your business, your function really well. But are you able to connect the dots between the other functions? Board expectation is never for the short term. Board expects, are you the one who is going to run this organization for next 10 years?
We talk so much about senior leaders managing companies, their teams, their portfolios, but what about managing their own careers? Welcome to CXO Conversations. I'm Akansha Singh, and today I'm sitting with someone who's quietly solving a problem that nobody in India is even willing to admit exists. Abhimanyu has spent years inside the boardroom, beside CEOs, and now, through CXO Steps, he's building something that I genuinely believe the world needs. Today's conversation is going to be honest, a little uncomfortable, and very, very real. So let's get into it. So Abhimanyu, let me start with something provocative. Every senior leader wants to be a CEO or a CXO or lead a business. It's basically like every senior leader's vision board. So you've sat close enough to the chair to know what it actually feels like. So what is it? And not the LinkedIn version, but the real version of it.
Well, it takes approximately 16 to 18 years for all of us to get our first job. We invest our time in primary school, higher secondary, graduation, post-graduation, and then after 18 years, we get a job which is possibly at the entry level. Within 15 years of our job experience, we are expected to either lead a business, get into the CXO level, or become a CEO of a company. You know, the CEO chair looks like a throne. It's a hot seat which possibly never cools down. And I'm not trying to make it like a motivational poster over here, but I literally mean it. That chair is expected to answer all the queries and solve all the problems, irrespective of whether you have those answers or not. And that loneliness is something which is very, very unique, and no one prepares us for that.
And it goes beyond just the professional pressure. I mean, the data, when you look at it, is quite alarming. And what is your thoughts on it?
It is. It is quite disturbing. If you look at CEO or CXO as demography, and I'm intentionally using this word, they are the one who goes through the maximum amount of depression, anxiety, relationship breakdown, burnouts, divorces, or even suicide. These are the human beings, actually the one who have built the empire, built the organization, raised fund for their organization and make it successful. They are the one who are actually running the economy of the country. But no one realizes at what cost.
Absolutely. And that's a sobering thought. And as a part of my work at CXO Steps, I speak to a lot of senior leaders. And often the one who's the most powerful in the room ends up being the most vulnerable. Why does that happen?
You know, Akansha, the power and the support rarely exist in the same room. These are the same CEOs who can go ahead and raise funds for the organization, can call for the board meeting, can fire hundreds of the senior managers, but in the same breath, they cannot go ahead and say that I'm struggling.
True.
This title does not permit you that kind of honesty. And that is the issue which most of the CEOs or the CXOs face when they reach this position. And that's precisely the reason why CXO Steps was built.
Absolutely. And that struggle can be different for each individual.
Yes.
And that is what CXO Steps acknowledges, and we are here to support them for. So let me push you on something I know you feel very strongly about. So there's this belief among director sales, CFOs, and COOs that they are the natural next in line to the CEO throne. And I know you very strongly disagree with this. So tell us why.
So, Akansha, if you look at these three roles very closely, the director sales is responsible for ensuring that the sales targets and the revenue targets are being met with the right profitability. The COO is ensuring that the operations, the customer service, the manufacturing processes are being managed really well and without any kind of deviations. And the CFO on one side is ensuring that the controls, the risk mitigations, etc., are taken care of. Now, if you look at the role of a CEO, the CEO role is not into the daily operations. The CEO role is to see how can I enhance the valuation of the organization. I have to ensure that my employees and their families are really taken care of. Now, these are the things which are completely different than the three roles that you're talking about.
And you never get time to prepare for that CEO role separately, right?
Because you're so busy in your day to day operation that you stop looking at things from here. And if by mistake you get promoted to that level, you start operating two level down and you start getting into the micromanagement. And that is where the red signal of the board comes in that, oh, have I done the right thing of promoting this CXO to CEO role?
And what about CXOs more broadly? Because I think there's a whole layer of senior leaders and CXOs sitting just below the CEO, your CMO, your CTO, your CHRO, and they're navigating their own version of this dilemma. So, what do you have to say to them?
Well, that's the point which never gets discussed. On one side, they are expected to be a domain expert and try to solve all the problems which come in their domain. And the other side, they're expected to behave like a business leader. And the irony is without any playbook. And that is when the nine box piece gets drawn in the organization, their name would never come in mind of the board that can they be the actual successor for the CEO role.
So, what is this nine box?
The nine box theory is about the performance and potential metrics, about the talent management, and every year, every good organization would like to prepare that nine box, trying to look at that how many successors that we have for one particular role. And unfortunately, the reality is that more often or not, there are very few names which actually gets into the top quartile of those nine box, saying that yes, here is an internal talent who can actually grow, like who can actually make it to the CEO position.
So, we talked about these CXOs, these functional heads, and a lot of times they assume or they believe that they are the next in line or they are the successor. But when the bad news comes to them, there's a whole heartbreak. So, what do you think they can do and prepare for that before the actual news comes to them?
We are so busy in managing our day to day life, day to day function. We do not invest in ourselves. It, we would have done our MBA 20 years back. When is the last time that we actually invested on ourselves?
Yes.
And that is where the leadership skill, which is being treated or often called as a soft skill, it is not a soft skill. This is the hardest skill to acquire.
Do you want to double click on that?
Now, think of an organization which is going through a massive restructuring. Who is managing this entire process? The CEO of a company who is dealing with the entire piece, understands the emotions of the employee, and also is trying to ensure the business continuity. This is not a soft skill, this is a hard skill. Unfortunately, because leadership doesn't have any score, like an MBA exams or a chartered accountant score, this is being put as a soft skill because you cannot measure it. That's number one. Number two, think of a finance guy who has acquired this qualification of IFRS. Now, after acquiring, the person is now trying to execute it. There is going to be a challenge in terms of execution because you practice it, you fail, you succeed, etc. Leadership is exactly like this. You have to keep practicing it on a day to day basis, and it might take you years to acquire that skill, but you need to be intentional about it. unfortunate reality is that more often or not, when the CHRO is trying to put the budget, they would say, oh, functional skill is more important, and here is the leadership skills or the behavioral skills. My friend, if you're doing it for the leadership team, you need to put it like this. And that is where leadership actually becomes the hardest skill to acquire.
Also, because it doesn't have a certification, this is also a common question of a lot of people, that what do we gain out of it?
Oh, and this certification is again very, very important. The moment we think of the certification, we think of, oh, okay, let's try and put this individual to one of the B school. Knowledge has become a commodity. Today, these things can be acquired even by using your AI and try to learn everything about it. But leadership is not something which is actually taught. And if it is being taught in the class, I'm sorry, your situation is unique, someone else's situation is unique. You cannot try to put the same lens just the way you try to talk about the marketing fundas and try to educate everyone. Leadership could mean very different for you, could mean very different for me.
Absolutely.
And this is where you possibly require a person who could actually be a real coach, who could guide you and who would prompt you at the right place so that you are able to enhance your skill, so that you can go back and say, look, this is what I tried doing and it didn't work, or it has worked wonderfully.
So, Abhimanyu, tell me that what does the board really expect from a CXO?
Board expects honesty. Board understands very well that you are a domain expert. You understand your business, your function really well. But are you able to connect the dots between the other functions? For example, if I'm a sales director of an organization, of course, I understand the revenue, I understand my entire annual operating plan in terms of which geography is expanding, what is my market share, how am I growing, and amongst one category to another category. Board expects that piece from the sales director any which ways.
Yeah.
That is taken for granted. But if board starts seeing you as a possible successor for the CEO, they start expecting, do you understand the financials? Do you understand how to run this organization with the right controls? Do you understand the risk? Do you understand how to manage my team or the senior leadership? And how can I make a better leader than myself? Board expectation is never for the short term. Board expects, are you the one who is going to run this organization for next 10 years?
Yes.
Are you the one who is going to create valuation or who is going to enhance the valuation of the company? That is expectation from the board. In fact, board does not expect you to be a micromanager. Board expects you to take the right risks which can help this organization grow multifold.
And so it feels like these CXOs have been training for a sport that's entirely different than what they are actually looking towards.
Absolutely. Imagine I'm a chess player. Throughout my life, I have been playing chess with right amount of discipline and everything.
And
But-
experience as well.
and experiences as well. And one fine day, someone comes and says, hey, now you're supposed to play for India in cricket. Well, I really admire the discipline that they bring in, but please understand the game is very different. You are playing chess till now, now you're expected to play cricket. It's completely different game altogether of being a CXO and being a CEO of a company.
Okay, so that actually connects to something I want to ask you next. And we talk so much about senior leaders managing companies, their teams, their portfolios. But what about managing their own careers? And do you think these senior leaders, these CXOs, are as intentional about themselves as they are about the businesses?
Unfortunately, no. We have been trained that you continue to work hard and someone will find you doing a good job and they will possibly elevate you in your career or will help you identify a new job. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. Now, let's take a step back and think. When we are trying to solve any of a business problem, what do? We first try to understand the current reality. We diagnose the problem and then we start working upon it and then solve that problem ultimately, right? Do we actually do this with our career? When was the last time someone actually diagnosed their career, that where am I? How am I doing? What am I? Where do I want to get in? I'll tell you a harsh reality. More often or not, people don't even rewrite their resume. They just keep editing it. For example, they would have made the resume in 2003 or 4 when they were doing their MBA. They will make it as a one page. They will move to another organization. They will add that piece over there. Okay, join XYZ organization with this position, then joins another organization. They will keep editing it. Possibly after 20 years, that resume has got no value because you're just editing it. You don't even have time to rewrite the entire resume which is required for the board or to become a CEO of a company.
Sometimes they also put their hobbies and
Oh
the
yeah,
skills they did.
hobbies and that I love playing piano and the guitar
Swimming
and
and reading.
reading, etc.
Yeah.
Akansha, the problem is that there is no CEO for your own career.
Yes.
If you are not the CEO of your own career, possibly no one has got time to manage your career. And when I say this, what I mean to say is just the way we diagnose the problem in the real life and then we try to solve it, I think every now and then we should take a step back, reflect upon it, that where do I stand and how do I solve my own career issues.
But many leaders who are listening and watching this would disagree with this, and they would say that I'm well aware of what my shortcomings are. I'm well aware of my blind spots. And what do you have to say to them in that
If they
case?
are well aware about the blind spot, then it is no more a blind spot. Go and address it. Why is that? Most of the organization, whenever there is an opportunity for a CXO level position or a CEO level position, they hire an executive search firm to hire an external talent. You have been raising your hands for multiple times. Why were you not given the opportunity? Ask that question to yourself. That's the blind spot for you.
So, is it safe to say that even if you're aware of certain areas that you need to work upon, there's a huge gap between the realization and the execution?
We are lazy. We are lazy to work upon our own selves. And that's a hard reality.
So, why do you think that is? Where is that gap? Is it time constraint or is it something else?
We are not intentional about it. We take things for granted. Monday to Friday, we are busy trying to solve business problems. Saturday, Sunday, Instagram and Facebook helps us to go for the good dining place, go watch a movie, go for a shopping, and that's where it ends. And even if we get time, possibly we end up working on those weekends for the company and not for our own selves.
So, when you say leadership differs from the absolute top level versus the middle and the junior, especially for IT, how does it differ? Like, if you can state that in 3 points.
Leading self, leading team, leading the business. Leading the business is about I'm not just looking at my function, but I'm also looking at my team and I'm also trying to connect it with the business priorities.
So, since we talk about coaching every day, and it is something that we are doing so much to spread awareness about, so tell me, how does coaching address these issues, these dilemmas, these blind spots of senior leaders?
I wouldn't recommend executive coaching for everyone.
Hmm.
Point
Okay.
number one. You should go for executive coaching only when you realize that you need to evolve or you need to change. If that acceptance doesn't come, I wouldn't recommend that executive coaching for that individual. We all have to be intentional about it. Let me give you an example. We start our career at, say, 22, 23 years.
Mostly, yes.
And by the time we reach at the age of around 40s, we would have reached a particular position. The hard reality, the other day I was speaking to someone and they were like, look, I'm already 46. It's only 10 years more to go and then I will be retiring. I'll be hanging my boot, etc. And my provocation to that individual was, look, my dear friend, you have invested 20 years in your career. And the reality is that you have got another 20 years to go, right? With the life expectancy going very well for India, we are most of us with the kind of medical facility that we have, most of us are going to survive till age of 90. You have just been at 45. Now think of that you have to survive for another 45 years. How are you going to do that without work?
A lot of them say consulting.
Go ahead and do that, but are you ready for it? How
Yes.
are you managing your mental well-being, and how are you upgrading your skills? And this is where, when you are intentional about it, and when you're trying to find those answers of what next in my life, that is when you need someone who can possibly come and help you to create your next avatar.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Abhimanyu. I'm glad that we could make this happen. This is what we do at CXO Steps. We talk about coaching people, we talk about senior leaders' problems, their blind spots, their dilemmas, and also how to solve them. And the reason why CXO Steps was started was because we felt like there's a huge gap and that needed to be addressed. Now that we're about to end our episode, I would like to hear from you what motivated you to begin and start CXO Steps.
Well, it's a long story, Akansha, but I'll keep it very short. I've worked very closely with the senior leaders. Now, once they reach at a particular level, they start getting plateaued, and they, even if they know what they have to really work upon, they had no idea where to go. Someone would recommend them some executive courses or possibly some kind of coaching sessions. But to identify those coaches were an uphill task. You would possibly get some references, and you really don't know whether those so called certified coaches are actually good enough for them or not. And that prompted me that we really need to build this space, or build an ecosystem where anyone in this world, if they are looking for help, they can log into CXO Steps, and they have access to not just the certified coaches, but globally certified executive coaches, which are possibly the best in the world. I'm not trying to say it because it's my platform, but I have not seen any other executive coaching platform the way the CXO Steps have been built. Highly confidential. You have the option to choose the executive coach that you want to. Probably you will be able to connect with one coach, which I may not be able to. So here you have an option to choose whom you want to rather than someone assigning it for you. So I think that's the difference that we try to bring in.
Thank you so much. And by now, you could have felt that we're really passionate about what we do. And if this conversation felt like it was about you, then it probably was. So do not hesitate, reach out to us, book your free one on one career diagnosis call, and we will speak to you. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you soon.